What's going on, guys? So in today's video, I thought that I would answer a few of y'all's questions about how I read and how I study my Bible. I was doing a Bible study challenge with someone the other day, and I wrote out the verses and the chapter that I studied, and then some of my notes that I wrote down with each passage. And I kind of realized I've had some subscribers ask me how I study my Bible. And so I figured that this would be the perfect way for me to kind of give you guys some insight on what I'm looking for and the kind of things that I see when I read my Bible. So I ended up just randomly choosing a book of the Bible and a place in the Bible to start, and I ended up with James 1. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read you guys a passage, and then immediately after I'm going to have a notes section and kind of tell you guys what that passage means to me. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing. If any of you lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who gives to all liberally and without reproach, and it will be given to him. So my notes for this section were, God oftentimes wants to teach us to depend on him. Sometimes he withholds blessings from us because we make our important decisions on our own and without asking him for direction. He wants to bless us and to bring us joy, but the health of our souls are his first priority. A lot of people think that one of the primary goals of Christianity is to be happy, that one of God's primary goals is for us to be happy. And that's true, that God does want us to be happy. And as parents here on earth, we want our kids to be happy. But we also, even more so, don't want our children to end up turning into really, really horrible people. So in the same way, God is more concerned about our spiritual health than he is about us just having a wonderful time all the time, because just like if you feed a kid nothing but candy and sweets, he's not going to grow up to be a healthy person. So God is kind of teaching us and helping us grow into people that hopefully are more like Jesus. The next passage. But let him ask in faith, with no doubting, for he who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. For let not that man suppose that he will receive anything from the Lord. He is a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. Now, this passage kind of made me feel like I needed to do some extra research, so I looked up what some Bible scholars kind of think of this. Because I don't know about you guys, but it's incredibly hard for me to do anything involving faith, like praying or just trusting things over to God, without having some sort of doubt or some sort of fear that God is going to do something. And, God's not going to always do what we want. Just because we pray for something doesn't mean that God's going to give it to us. We should always act and ask in faith. Never come to God praying and believing, there's no way that God is going to do something. We need to make sure that our doubt isn't that God is capable of doing things, because he's capable of doing anything. What you ask for might not necessarily line up with his will. That's the only reason that we shouldn't have faith that God will do something. God is always going to act for the best of his children. Let the lowly brother glory in his exaltation, but the rich in his humiliation, because as a flower of the field he will pass away. For no sooner has the sun risen with a burning heat than it withers the grass, its flower falls, and its beautiful appearance perishes. So the rich man also will fade away in his pursuits. My notes here are, chasing glory and riches here on earth is empty. We find true joy and peace in our love for God and others. Next passage. Blessed is the man who endures temptation, for when he has been approved, he will receive the crown of life, which the Lord has promised to those who love him. Let no one say when he is tempted, I am tempted by God. For God cannot be tempted by evil, nor does he himself tempt anyone. But each one is tempted when he is drawn away by his own desires and enticed. Then, when desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin. And sin, when it is full grown, brings forth death. And my notes for this section were, if we love God, we will keep his commandments and keep from breaking his rules. Our relationship with Jesus is more than rule keeping. When you love someone, you don't want to do things that hurt them. Sin hurts Jesus because we're his bride. He died for us. One of the number one things that keeps us from doing something is our thoughts of empathy for another person. So, for example, if I'm just, if I don't have any heart, then I might steal from a little kid. I might be like, wow, that candy looks really good. I'm gonna eat some for myself. But I have these feelings of compassion towards that kid because that's his candy. It's gonna make him incredibly upset if I steal his candy from him. So I'm not gonna do that because I care for him. I think oftentimes we don't see Jesus, we don't see God as a person with real emotions and real feelings. The Bible speaks specifically about the fact that God sings over us. God rejoices. God is happy and sad and angry. He shows all these emotions that we feel. And so when we have a relationship with him, we need to try and do our best to love him back because he loves us. And the best way to love him back is to honor his commandments, and to do what he asks of us, to spend time with him. And I think that a lot of Christians kind of fall down in that department. So then, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath, for the wrath of man does not produce the righteousness of God. And my notes for this section were, process information without letting emotions get in the way, and only act in righteous anger. Like Jesus flipping tables on the merchants that he turned the temple into a marketplace, it's okay to show righteous anger. Therefore, lay aside all filthiness and overflow of wickedness, and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your souls. But be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. For if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man observing his natural face in a mirror. For he observes himself, goes away, and immediately forgets what kind of man he was. But he who looks into the perfect law of liberty and continues in it, and is not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this one will be blessed in what he does. And my notes here are, we should turn away from our worldly ways, do what we know is right. Rather than hearing the truth and ignoring it, we ought to take action and make a change. Finally, if anyone among you thinks he is religious and does not bridle his tongue but deceives his own heart, this one's religion is useless. Pure and undefiled religion before God and the Father is this, to visit orphans and widows in their trouble, and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. The pure and undefiled religion that James talks about here is an outward expression of our inward devotion toward God. The bad kind of religion, or the religion that I talked about in my relationship versus religion video, is a system or a mechanism to express devotion to a God. In other words, guys, we need to show signs of being different and our love for God in our actions. Religious people are all about an external system. So even though I might not feel any love for God, might not feel any love for people, I go to church because I just feel like I have to, or because I feel like it will make me more socially accepted in whatever circles I choose to mingle in. But real religion, or what I would classify more as relationship, is us feeling so much love for God that we want to keep those rules, and that we want to do things like go to church and worship, and we want to do things like tithe. It shouldn't be that we do things just because there are rules for those things, but more because we love God. Anyway, guys, those were my notes on James 1. I hope that kind of gives you guys a little bit of insight onto how I really do my deep dives when I study the Word. I, unfortunately, can be pretty slack about it and kind of neglect really reading the Bible. Lately, I've been doing a lot of stuff with a new job, trying to keep up with, my YouTube stuff and basketball and just a bunch of various other personal things that are going on. But for right now, guys, I am just slamming busy. I appreciate all of y'all's support. We are past the 400 subscriber mark, which when I started this thing back in, I want to say August, I was not thinking that I was going to hit 400 subscribers by the end of the year. I want to wish you guys a happy new year. I know that at the time of recording this video that's a few days in the past, but I cannot stress how much I love and appreciate all of you guys. I will see you guys next Tuesday, and it'll be more of my normal style of content. I know that usually Saturdays are vlog days, but I didn't really have any time or content to make a really interesting vlog, and I want to make sure that those are really interesting for you guys. If you like this video, leave a like, comment, subscribe. It really helps me out. Here's to the next 400 and beyond. I appreciate every one of y'all.